Zhuzh the hair. Do you want to zhuzh your hair?
No, I don't think I can. There we go.
Excellent.
That's as zhuzhed as it gets.
Zhuzh. Welcome to Colleagues Getting Coffee. My name's Annalise James, and today I'm joined by Pete Barty.
Hi, Annalise.
How are you?
I'm good. Loving the weather.
It is so lovely, don't you think? What do you think? Is this giving us a taste for like living in Spain?
Absolutely. And I did Google where is it 25 degrees all year round, because this is kind of like perfect for me.
Is this your vibe?
Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
I can get this.
The only thing I wish I had is a swimming pool.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Don't we all, indeed. So, Pete, obviously we know that you're a TEDxGosport speaker, but tell everyone a little bit about you generally.
So, I'm in my 50s and I spent a long time as a career as a senior leader in local government, as a chartered civil engineer. During that time, I underwent a cancer diagnosis, which kind of formed that part, shaped who I kind of am now. As part of that, I went through psychotherapy and counselling, and that triggered some thoughts within me that I might one day like to retrain and do that. Mm-hmm. So I did that alongside my career. And when my career came to an end, I kind of moved into that space. Yeah.
So what, like qualified counselling, therapy, that sort of stuff?
So I'm a Gestalt therapist.
Ooh,
yeah, which
Gestalt.
sounds very posh, but it's, or very niche, but it's about being present and about experiencing the world from where the client brings it, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. And you obviously run some other things to kind of encourage others to be kind of their active selves as well. You're quite big on social media, aren't you? Is that right?
I have been, yeah. Less so at the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm involved in a number of other things. So I facilitate a men's support group online called Men Who Talk, which is a really good safe space for men to share what's going on for them in a non-judgmental way. Part of that, I would probably bring an element of get out and do things in an active way. I've been quite present in a kind of challenge space for myself in terms of physical challenges. So I spent a lot of time fundraising for a cancer charity, Macmillan, and a local cancer charity called Harbour Cancer Support, who I did my therapy placement with. So that involved climbing mountains all over the world, running marathons, running ultramarathons, and raising a fair bit of money to help others that went through kind of similar experiences that I did.
So do you think then your diagnosis was like a real just pivot moment in your life where you could really take stock of things and be like, oh, if my life looked different, it would be this? Is that what changed your path? Was it going through that? Or was it, had you always sort of thought, oh, am I in the right field? Or do I want to do this long term?
Yeah, I mean, my career was almost by accident anyway. So, to go back, and it's funny, I'm having these conversations with my daughter who's just going through her A-level results in 2 days. So I ended up doing a civil engineering degree, getting a master's, and it was like, I didn't really know what that was about at the time, but it kind of ticked a few boxes for what I was good at and what I was interested in. So I ended up on that path and being relatively successful. But I think there was something gnawing away. That I wasn't the best engineer in the world, but I think the bit for me I was good at was dealing with people. So I wasn't brilliant at maths, I wasn't brilliant at mathematical problem solving. My thing where I got a lot of enjoyment was dealing with problems with people and getting the best out of people from quite an early stage of my career. So I ended up leading learning and development for our service, which was quite revelatory for me, and kind of this is kind of the space I want to be in, getting the best out of people, helping them to be the best they can be. Yeah,
I love that. It raises a question for me about, do you think that we need like big things to happen in our lives to help us to step away from things that we've accidentally ended up in and to find our true north? Or is that just something that just happened to you and you just think it's sort of like, oh, just the path changes and it's just a...
I think we get stuck, and I think there's a script in society, isn't there, that you study hard and you get some qualifications, you go to university, you study hard, you get a job, you get a career, you buy a house, you get married, you have kids, and it's really easy to just get stuck on that societal expectation of what life is about.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But actually, we're working for a long time. Why do we need to have just one career for 40 years, one type of career for 40 years? And I spent 28 years, 6 months, 10 days in that career, roughly, give or take. Not that I was counting.
Every day. School.
And I feel really blessed that I've kind of changed that path. And it's no doubt cancer was the catalyst that enabled that. But it wasn't straight away, because you can't just up and change career overnight. It takes a bit of thought and a bit of planning. But I'm grateful that I had that wake-up call.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a weird thing to say, I'm grateful for having had cancer, but my life is way richer and way fuller as a consequence of having that.
And I do think that actually there's something about being grateful for difficult moments. I've had my own journey with that in terms of, like, I was originally wanted to be a teacher. I just, with my absolute goal for like 7 years, got all my education, did this, that and the other, walked into my first education job and was bullied relentlessly by women 20 years older than me. And I quit after 2 years. I couldn't handle it. And I was like, I can't do this. And I thank her in my brain. I would never speak to her, but like I'd never see her, but I thank her now for that, because she changed my path and my life is so much better than literally in a classroom every day, term times off, like I can see how my life would have been, and now I'm thankful. So sometimes it's a negative thing that happens that does shift change, and it's a bit scary at the beginning, but actually it's...
And I can see how my life would have turned out as well if I hadn't have gone through that. So I was on a reasonable career trajectory. I was doing pretty well. But the stress that comes with leading big teams and high pressure environments is quite telling.
Yeah.
And I think that would have impacted my life way more, I think, in the long term. If I was still there now, I wouldn't be the person I am now. I wouldn't have the perspective on life that I have now. I'd be very stressed, exhausted, probably have a couple of ulcers, that kind of thing. And that's what I could see that looking back. And it's really easy being reflective about this and looking back, but I think that's where I would have ended up.
Yeah.
So you do, it is those big things that change your life, but it's recognising that bad things happen to everybody. You can't avoid that, and it's not your fault or anything. Stuff happens. It's what you do as a consequence of that.
Yeah.
What you make of it.
Absolutely.
How it impacts you, and what you take from it, and what you learn from it, and what you change as a consequence. That's the big thing.
Yeah. Something that really resonates with me about what you're saying is this idea that the scripts that we follow are kind of like what we would typically say success is. So like an older guy having a couple of ulcers and being super stressed and burnt out is like pretty standard for like, well done, right? And the idea of retraining and stepping out of that life and now doing something essentially softer is like less successful. Well, what do you think about that?
How do we gauge success?
Love question. Great question.
That's the big key, isn't it? Is stress that you leave the house at 6 a.m, don't come home till late at night, don't see your family, eat unhealthily, don't get time to exercise, have no downtime? Is that success because you got a big bank balance, or you have a big job title, an impressive job title? Is that success? It's different for everybody, and what success is will probably come back to what you're told it is. When you're in your formative years and adolescence, the script your parents give you, the script you're told at school by these role models that teach you stuff, they're telling you what success is. And I went to a school that it was very academic, and I wasn't particularly academic. So success for them was getting to Oxford or Cambridge. So all their energies were into Oxford and Cambridge, getting people through their A-levels and getting them to those schools. I was never going to fit into that path, and I kind of got left behind. And I have this discussion with my daughter, like I say, my A-levels weren't particularly good. And I've said to her, but I think I'm way more successful now as a consequence of having that difficult period in my life, that I battled through that. Didn't get the grades I wanted, didn't go to the university that I probably wanted to or was expected to go to. And I've had to really fight for where I got to and work hard. They instilled something in me. So for me, success is, can you get to a point in your life where you're happy? with where you are, because it's different for everybody. And it isn't always about material goods and about material wealth.
Absolutely.
And I'm fairly convinced by that.
Yeah.
You know, success for me is about being comfortable with who you are and being happy. And am I striving for that every day? It's still a work in progress. And I think people that say they're a finished article are probably kidding themselves. And it takes work.
I just love all of the things that you're saying, really. And I think that I feel like in society we're moving away from those existing scripts. You think about like when we went to school, the script was X, and now it's very different. Yeah. And I'm hoping that will fundamentally change the future society of how people relate to success, how people relate to material wealth or self-satisfaction or the purpose of helping others and those sorts of things. Obviously, I think it will bring its own issues, like whatever that script is now. Obviously, it's very digital, so we'll have different issues. But I feel confident that it's moving away from something that I think is generally quite toxic. And I think I've been guilty of that, striving for material wealth and striving for ego. And then there's a point in your life when you just think, do you know what? I'm actually okay. I don't need to stroke my ego. It's okay. Everything's fine. You don't need fear and you don't need judgment and you don't need criticism. It's actually all okay. You can just love yourself and be okay. And more people seem to be doing that now, which I think is lovely.
Yeah. And for me, I mean, whether it's my age, I'm trying to just make my life simpler and getting rid of all that stuff that I've accumulated over the years to make life more agile and more simple as I get older. We accumulate so much stuff
we do.
in our lives that actually gives us very little benefit or joy after the moment we get it. You know, and from and I'm as guilty as anyone of wanting nice things and, you know, shiny new toys. But I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm getting rid of all that. I want a simple life where I'm happy with what I've got. I'm content with what's around me. I can just have fun and be happy.
I love that. So talking about being happy, TEDxGosport. Yes! So obviously we don't want to give any spoilers to your talk, but can you tell me about like what that process was for you in terms of, because actually you were recommended by 2 different speakers from last year to be a speaker this year.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah. Just so you know. And we really rely on that sort of stuff because if people are good people doing good stuff, then we're into that, you know. But what was your journey about finding TEDxGosport? Like, how did that happen for you?
Well, I saw a friend of mine had done it, and I followed her journey and I thought that's pretty impressive because TED's always been there because I was in that learning and development space anyway. I'd used it as a development tool for the people I tried to help. I used it for a development tool for myself, and there are some talks that really stick in my mind that blew me away at the time. So I saw my friend do that. I thought, wow, that's really, I didn't even know that was a thing. You could do that locally. You know, I have this impression of TED as being this big American thing where you stand up in front of hundreds of people. And I was in awe of these speakers that could just, and I was convinced there was a teleprompt there because there's no way they could be that smooth and that cool and that slick, but you know, there isn't. As I've come to realise.
You're like, damn it, rat.
And so, yeah, and the other person I came to know and told me about TEDxGosport. I thought, oh, there's something local. And there's me, all kind of blasé and maybe a little bit arrogant, thinking, oh, I'll just drop him a line. I've done a few talks, that'll be all right. And I'll do a bit of that. And then I think you emailed me back with quite a blunt, well, there is a selection process.
Yeah. You do not know how many people I messaged that to. Please do apply on the website. We really look forward to your application.
Because I knew none of that. Because you don't, until you get involved, you have no idea
absolutely.
What's involved. So I started to look at that, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed there's a questionnaire, or 3 questions, I think, wasn't it, that you fill out.
Yeah. Like, what's the idea? Why you? Why now? Something like that.
And how it connects to
the theme.
The theme of connection. And then this lovely 1-minute video that we had to do, which was fun. I think I did about 3 takes because my dog kept jumping on me. So although that would have been funny, it kind of just completely threw what I was going to say. So yeah, and then a lovely audition. Never had an audition in my life. Been interviewed many times, but to use the word audition is quite frightening, I have to say.
Now that we've just been terrorising Gosport for the last 2 years, we think we're doing a good thing, but actually people are like stressed.
I thought, what's the worst that can happen? You know, take this quite cool. You know, if you don't get in, you don't get in. And I was lucky enough to get an audition, and I actually really enjoyed that process. I think it was fun.
A lot of people say that. I think it's something about honing your idea. So actually writing it in an application and then being like, okay, I've said I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Let me plan how I do that in a 5-minute window as well.
And I think at that moment, it kind of feels real as well. Because all the time you're applying for something, it's something that's just to actually stand up in front of 4 women and say do your 5-minute pitch. It suddenly becomes real, and you know it's in the room and it's present. But what I tried to be authentic and keep it light-hearted where my subject matter allowed it to be, and actually just bring a nice kind of fun energy to that bit, because my talk is quite dark or just challenging for people, I think is probably a better word. So the more humour or the more character I could bring to it, I thought that was good. So yeah, and I enjoyed that. And then you get given the nod, and then you think, oh
my God, your message was so funny, wasn't it? Because you were like, it's like, what did you say? It's like
getting a spot in the London Marathon. You're like, yes, and then you're suddenly, oh dear. Yeah.
It was my favourite. And I would even I sent it to the rest of the speakers. As one speaker said, it's this. And it's very true, because the work starts then.
Yeah.
And it's the rehearsals and the bits and bobs. But interesting fact, so obviously you were shortlisted from like 115 applications, and we auditioned 37 people. And then, because obviously we couldn't remember everybody's names or what was happening, you were known as chairman, which will become apparent if you watch the video and see the talk, because we had to find ways to like be like, which one was that again? Oh, chairman. Okay, yeah.
I think that would have been quite difficult.
Maybe I should introduce you on the day.
No,
welcome.
please don't.
No, okay, fine. We'll go with Pete. No, but how have you found, so connection obviously is the theme that spoke to you, obviously because of the things that you do in your role now, in your work now. Is that why that speaks to you so much?
It wasn't a theme that I'd actually focused on before with my story, but actually when I started thinking about it, it's quite evident. There's a huge connection. It's only when you really think deeply on a different topic or different theme that it becomes quite so clear. And it was for a lot of my journey. I was held and I was connected with a lot of people and organisations, and then suddenly I was not. And it's that connection and disconnection that is the stark bit of my story, really. And I'm really trying hard not to give any spoilers.
No spoilers here. You could say them, I'll just cut them out. It'll be like, blab, blab, cut, blab, 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 blab.
So it was quite an easy shift to make that theme evident and solid throughout. And it's actually, I think, given my narrative more depth.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. Brilliant. So good. And I think the thing is, I know you say your story's dark, but I really don't think it is, actually. Like, for me, it really... last year we had quite a heavy show, I would say. We had 4 different talks on death last year, which was quite heavy out of 14 speakers. And we had stories about, like, homelessness and various things about, like, abuse, like touching on stuff, and obviously men's mental health. And so this year, for me, it was much more about dialing up the joy. And whilst your talk has difficult moments, I think fundamentally it asks those important questions and helps people tap into that kind of challenger mindset of like, oh, well, how do you overcome this stuff? And I think that's really important. But we also need light and shade in the talks as well. So,
and I think this goes back to that point I made about something else earlier, which is about bad stuff happens to everybody.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about how you react and how you respond, in a careful, thoughtful way to what's happened to you that defines who you are as a human.
It's really interesting that you say that the connection didn't necessarily speak to you, because we had a lady contact me because next year's theme is impact, and they said that's so broad. And I was like, yes, like last year was storytelling, this year's connection, and next year's impact. They're big, broad things. Bring what comes up for you, bring it, because we don't want to be like very specific about...
You could have a very niche show.
Yeah. And, obviously with connection, so many applications were about how you identify with yourself and how you connect with yourself and how you're in your body and this. But it would have been like almost like blueprint of same talk. So we really wanted it open, and it was great because we've got such a varied...
There's a real breadth of content.
Aren't they great as well, the speakers? I'm so excited.
Yeah, there's some lovely people there.
Yes.
Not some, they're all lovely people.
All of them. Some of them. Oh, that one, right, okay. Amazing. So I suppose TEDx is a bit of, for people, is a kind of, again, a pivot moment. And that happens a lot. We've seen from speakers, even when I did the show back in 2020 for TEDx Southampton, a lot of people went off in a direction with new podcasts, new books, new business offers, this, that and the other. So what is your pivot from TEDx?
Well, I was... so I didn't come into TEDx with a purpose of promoting anything or deliberately pivoting into, I don't know, a webinar or anything. That really wasn't the purpose of me coming in. I came in, as I said in the audition, the sole reason for doing TEDx was because it was just something I wanted to do, and it looked like fun. And
funny sense of fun.
Yeah, well, in a kind of type 2 fun. And a twisted sense of fun.
But it is fun.
But it is fun.
It is.
And the other thing is you just don't know where things lead you. And I've done a lot of things in my recent life. It's like, well, yeah, that sounds like fun. I don't know what will come of it. But it sounds like right there then, that sounds like
it's such a nice way to live your life. That is such a nice way to just find the path.
As long as it doesn't get you into trouble, it's good.
Oh, yeah, as long as it's not illegal. All right.
And so that's kind of what I thought. And it was like, I'll take this process as far as it goes. And it just so happens it's going to end up with me on a stage. But equally might not have done. So before TEDx came along, I had spent a lot of time writing a book, which is a kind of memoir based of the last, since diagnosis, really. Outlining the adventures I've been on, the challenges I've done, and the kind of mental struggle I'd had through the last 17 and a bit years. And I've sent that out to beta readers. They've come back with loads of comments. I've got copies on my desk all marked up, but I've just parked that because there was absolutely no way I could do TEDx and do my kind of second and third edits on a book.
Agreed.
I just don't have the mental capacity for that. And there's kind of ideas that aren't in the talk, and there's ideas that aren't in the book. So I needed to keep a distinct gap from them. So that's kind of sat there waiting. So we'll get TEDx done, hopefully. I think 2 weeks
after... You bloody will.
Oh 2 weeks after that, I've got a 2-mile swim in the Serpentine. So I'll do some extra training for that. That's probably not being done at the moment because I'm standing in front of a mirror practicing my talk. And then I think editing my book will be quite a good thing to do when the evenings get darker.
Yeah.
It's a bit colder outside.
Yeah, nice.
It's quite hard to tie myself to a desk at the moment when it's so lovely outside. It's lovely, isn't it? So the idea with that is if I can get that edit done and really get it tightened up by spring, I'm then in a position to decide what I want to do next with it.
We've talked about a lot of different things. We've talked about your original career. We've talked about moving into counselling, pivoting, challenge, taking on a TEDx and being like, let's see what happens, like kind of following the path. But what would be your main takeaway from someone watching today of how to people or how to be?
How to be. Probably 2 things. So I know you said main takeaway. I'm going to give two takeaways.
2 takeaways.
There we go. So the first one is around don't be afraid of failure. So I had in my world, in my kind of social media and world that I existed, I had a relatively public failure. I didn't summit a mountain that I'd been working really hard to do in South America. And it absolutely destroyed me. Emotionally, physically, I just... And I got turned around on summit day with probably about an hour to go. I got altitude sickness and couldn't function anymore. I turned into this kind of Thunderbird puppet that could control my limbs. And that hit me hard. And it took a lot of mental gymnastics and a lot of reflection on actually what I learned about myself in that moment. And it was about, actually, I'm still here. I've had an incredible experience. And I learned more about myself in failing than I probably ever did in standing on top of a mountain. Because normally I'd get to a summit or I'd finish a race, and before I was even back down off the mountain, I'd be thinking about what's next. With not having that reflection time, thinking about, actually, what have I just done? Let's be in the moment and celebrate and think about what I've achieved, who I've become as a consequence. Just don't do that. Just kind of go straight on to the next thing. And it's the same at work. You know, you get a project done and we talk about kind of let's have a wash up and talk about what's worked really well and what hasn't worked. Now, that never happens. You're straight on to the next thing. You don't have that reflection time. And that was probably where I was at from climbing a mountain. You're thinking about the next. You're already mentally flicking through the brochure of where you want to go next before you've even decompressed about that one you've just done. So that failure on that mountain had a massive impact on me in working out that failure isn't a bad thing. You actually learn more about yourself in that moment.
Love that.
And the second takeaway actually comes back to one of the really major TED Talks that I watched. At the time, it was one of the most watched TED Talks. It's Sir Ken Robinson, who's quite a famous thought leader in the education space. And it's around finding your element. And I watched his TED Talk and it had a massive impact. Then went away and read his book. And there was something in there for me about finding your element, about finding the bits that really work for you, where you find your joy and you're in flow state that we talk about all the time. Where is that? And it's this Venn diagram, this overlap of opportunity and aptitude. And somewhere in the middle is this bit where it all works and all fits together. But the opportunity needs a bit of attitude shift with it as well, that you need to try lots of things to find those things that work, because we don't know what we've got our aptitude for. But what we tend to do is we get labelled with that first career when you're 20 or whatever, post-degree, whatever, or out of school, and you're just kind of channeled in to stick with it. But actually, if it's not working, try something else and fail quickly. Try something else and fail quickly, and then find out what you've got the aptitude for, but you need that attitude for it as well.
Kind of reminds me of Johari's window.
Yeah.
You know, there's one window that we don't even know what we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know and actually, how do you know? You could be like an expert BMXer, but you've never been on a bike, right? Well, you find out if you get on a bike.
Yeah.
Like if you've just suddenly got a skill set for something. But so many people, I imagine, have that window. They just never thought about it, or they've never tried enough things to find their zone of amazingness, you know.
But we're told that's a bad thing, aren't we? When we're kids, it's another 5-minute wonder. I had that told to me so many times.
That is right. Yeah.
You know, another 5-minute wonder, and it's like, actually, you need to have 100 5-minute wonders before you find the one that you love.
Kind of love this. This should be a book, 100 5-minute wonders. Yeah. That's a book title right there, coming soon. One final question, only because when you were giving your last answer, I was like, wait a minute. You talk a lot about reflecting, a lot. And it seems like this thing that has been absolutely monumental for you to change your career, but also step into things or whatever. But how do you reflect? Is there any tool that you can share about reflecting? Like, what is that? Is it sitting in a room? Is it walking? How do you do it?
Writing my book has been a major part of that. Because it's not just been, I spent the last year writing it. There's been bits of that in process for probably a decade. So I spend a lot of that. There's obviously, as a therapist, I have supervision. So I spend a lot of time in a room with my supervisor and don't always talk about clients. Sometimes I talk about things that are impacting me. But I think by nature, I'm actually quite a reflector. When I used to run a lot, that was a good space to reflect. I was never one for worrying about what was going on in terms of my pace or, how many miles have I done? That's all right. Not data driven. So I would use that time to be in my head.
Yeah.
And now when I'm swimming, there's not a lot else you can do.
So I suppose the common thread of the things you're saying there is putting yourself in environments where you're giving your brain, you're doing something, but you're actually giving your brain the chance to swim about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we don't do that enough, because we think if we're not actively doing something,
Yeah.
you're wasting your time. Or we need to have a reason to be doing that, but actually you is enough reason.
Yeah.
Giving yourself that time.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's been a pleasure.
I felt very much chilled. The kittens left us alone, which is successful. And I look forward to seeing you on the stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.